Okay, Bradford, well, we're ready to get going. I wanted to show you something before we got too far in. I went back and looked at our communication, and you had said that this was your original stem, which is good because this one's in very good shape in terms of the structure. Certainly, we're going to rebuild it. We're going to put a new gasket in there and get that ready to go. I looked at the one that you bought, that you put in your watch, and it is certainly not of the quality that I would anticipate being in a Seiko. I don't know the origin of this. I think you said you bought it on eBay, but it's in pretty rough shape. It's not actually appropriate. It's been bent badly, and I think that one, we're going to keep that one away. So that one will come back to you, and we're just going to go ahead and use your original because that's a real Seiko part that looks good. In fact, it looks very good. So we'll get that rebuilt. All right, well, let's go ahead and start tearing down your case and getting your movement taken apart. It's going to take me a moment to try and get your this screw out, so I'll be right back. Hopefully we'll have it removed. Okay, we are back, and that is off. So this one, the broken screw, will come back. So these are now separated. Everything is in good shape, so we'll be ready to go. Got some old lubrication here. I'm going to clean that out. Everything gets a little gummy depending on the kind of lubricant you use. I use all of the everything I use now is actually synthetic, and so it doesn't gum like this. It has its own, shelf life, if you will, but usually it's volatility that is the thing that leads to the change in the nature of the lubricant. It doesn't turn into varnish quite like this does, so you can just see remnants of it, the old lubricants in here, but everything is fine. We will proceed with the teardown here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take your die shock out. Get that into the cleaner. Alright, now this screw here is not correct. I mean, it does its job, but it's not the one that's for this spot. So we're going to return this one to you and put a correct screw in place. I'm not sure the origin of this one. It doesn't even look like a Seiko screw, to be honest. So a couple screws will be in the bag coming home. Okay. That's your balance. Now what I'm interested in is if your mainspring is slipping. No, it seems to be okay. I can tell you have a tremendous amount of wear in your barrel arbor. That is super, super floppy. I can just move the whole thing. And what we're going to see when we take off this ratchet wheel is a whole bunch of brass. So these are brass plated, or plated brass. I'm sorry, they have like a rhodium, shiny rhodium. And you can see here, this is where this set of teeth have worn down into this bridge and have led to wear. And that's all due to the fact that your lower mainspring arbor is just flopping around inside of the hole. So that's no good. We're going to take care of that. That's why we jewel those, is because that wear is just eventual and kind of a pain. Over time, it really messes up the function of the watch. Okay, so there's your dial. It looks pretty clean. It looks as though, to me, I don't know if you can see this, but because of the sink in this loom, the depth of that sinking, it's actually rubbed on your dial just a bit. And I can look from the side here and see, yeah, it seems to have touched your dial just a little bit and put some loom on there. You can tell this has been wet before, and you have some material that's sort of accumulated here on the edge. But no matter, we'll get it cleaned up. Okay. My only concern, that is pretty far, is that loom is really unstable because it's so deep in the sink that I don't want it to crackle, because then we're in a situation where it's not really savable. We could put the loom back in, but we would have to add a little loom to make sure that we can do that properly. We'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we need to. All right. Okay, there are your hands, safely removed. Okay, get your ratchet wheel into the cleaner. Okay, so there's your dial. Now, like I said, you have a little bit of material here, and I think that will just, in a sense, dust off. We can get that off of there. It hasn't scratched the dial. It's just the loom itself has just sort of started to rub against the surface of the dial, and once we clean it just ever so slightly, it'll come right off. And this edging, I think that's old lubricant that sort of leaked around. Sorry for the barking. It's about to get worse. Okay, let's go ahead and take your dial off. Now, this is from the era where I'm not really sure they were still printing dates on dials, so if we don't see a date, it's not the end of the world. And no, we don't. Sorry for the noise. The dogs have found me, and they're noisy. Okay. English-Spanish day wheel. Okay. Let's go ahead and continue with the teardown on the train side. All right. I'm gonna actually go ahead and take your stem back out. Okay. Just take off your pallet fork, part of your lever escapement mechanism. It's a little sticky. Yeah, it's lubricated, in fact, which is bad. It's not what we want. This should not have lubrication, but yours has a drop. I can see it. Sometimes that can be the migration of other lubricants that make their way in. of a line there. I'm not sure what that's from, but certainly this should be much cleaner than it is. It's got a lot of lubrication on there, which shouldn't be there. Pallet fork jewels. These jewels should not be lubricated. We're going to clean all this, of course, but just to see how much is in there, I'd like to give it a little touch. All right. Not insignificant. Hair in there. Again, I'm sorry for the noise. That is loose. Okay. Yeah, wow, you can see where your barrel has actually started to rub on your underside of your bridge. This bushing is badly worn. We're going to replace that with a jewel as part of our service. Okay, here's your fourth wheel. I'm going to take a close look at all of these, of course, but you have said that there's been water in the movement in the past. The problem is that it can attack these, especially these center wheel components. I can see some corrosion. I'll have to take a very close look at that in the microscope. But that one may need to be replaced. There's your third wheel. And your escape wheel. It's usually the part of the train that's in the central stack. So what happens is when moisture comes in, it accumulates at the highest point, which is generally central to the crystal, and then it drips onto this part of the watch right down through here. So your hands get it usually from the center outward, and then it comes in and attacks these components here. Ooh. Oh my, what is that big chunk of goodie? Yikes. I'm not sure who left that there. That's not good. Some sort of piece of something. Alright, so let's take out your center wheel. Generally, if the fourth wheel has some corrosion, the center wheel is also susceptible. Yeah, that hole is egged out. Alright, let's take off your... Oh my, that's a lot of stuff. Yikes. That is grimy. If it's silicone grease from perhaps putting a new stem in, it can get a bit pushed into the movement, and that's also not good. You gotta be generous, but not too generous with the grease. It all matters. Okay. So let's go ahead and get your calendar side taken down. There we go, C-clip. Okay. Come on. Come on. There we go. Looks pretty clean on this side. It's good. Always nice. Nice to see. Plates. Ooh, that's loose. Loose. Also loose. Very loose screws. I don't think there's any specific torque setting on these, but certainly more than just touching is expected. Okay. Let's take off your tape ring. Put it away. Up the rest of your parts. There's your jumper. Okay, go ahead and take your die shock out. All right. There's your intermediary gear. Now that's nice and tight. I don't think it's ever really been off. Okay. Date correcting finger. Come on. There we go. That seemed a bit tighter than I was expecting. There's your center wheel. Again, I'm going to take a very close look. These, inside of here, there is a set of gears that is particularly susceptible. Yeah, you may need a replacement. Absolutely. Oi. That one is in bad shape. It's dirty. I'm going to have to closely look at that. The dirt is one thing. We can take care of dirt, but rust and corrosion, that's a no-no. We have to be super, super careful. Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a close look at that. Very close look. Moisture. It's a bear. It's really a pain. It is ruinous to parts, unfortunately. It's a real shame. Ooh, sticky. Lots of goopy stuff in here. Okay. All right, with that, your movement is torn down. We're going to take a close look at all these jewels, pivots. Ooh, got some wear on there I'm not expecting. We'll inspect everything really closely, make sure all these pivots are cleaned, pre-cleaned, and ready to go into the washer. And we'll take a close look at your train components and your mainspring. I got a few concerns about this too, but we'll be back. We'll take a look. All right. Okay. Okay, Bradford. Well, we are ready to start on the reassembly of your movement. Everything's out of the cleaner and looking really good. I've done all my preliminary checks on all your components and looked them over. I want to point out you have a brand new jewel in your main plate. This is your lower mainspring arbor port jewel, and there is the corresponding upper mainspring arbor port jewel, that purple donut right there. That's going to eliminate all of that slop that produced this sort of wear in your plate and this wear here, which will keep your watch basically running indefinitely. If it's experiencing regular service intervals, it will just continue to run basically forever without any problem. We've removed the issue that's associated with these movements. So let's get going. We're going to start with a little bit of lubrication here. All right, I always take one last look, make sure we don't have any dust or debris or anything on your components. So you're getting a brand new center wheel here. This is your new one that will go into place. Your other one, your old one, was quite badly corroded, in fact. So that will come home to you, and I'll show you that component before we finish. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and get your center wheel nail locked down here. There it is. Okay, let's go ahead and put your barrel in place. Very nice. Alright, just so we don't forget, let's get your click dropped in. Alright, looks good. Okay. Now we can start with the rest of the train of wheels. The third wheel. And your escape wheel. And your fourth wheel, which gets a small amount of lubrication along the shaft before it drops in. Okay. No hacking levers to think about here, so we are clear to put the plate on. So there we go. And then we align your pivots. Okay. It's interesting, these bridges are a bit more of a challenge than some of the other 6000s, simply because they have this closed off in here, and you can't get to the third wheel as easy as you can with some of the others. It's just a oops, just a design thing. It's all a little bit more complicated. It's not so bad though. Could be worse. Could be worse. Just like everything. Could always be worse. Okay, third wheel, we need to get you aligned. Come on. It's a little canted. Come on, third wheel. Do your job. Alright, I'll take this back off again. Make sure that's nice and flat before we start. Okay. Just have to be patient. Move slowly. Patience is rewarded. Generally. Okay. And there we go. Perfect. Just takes a moment. There we go. We got a screw in. That's good. Train is free. All right. Wow, that's a nice running train. I like that. That feels pretty good. Let's get your ratchet wheel in place. Oops. Come on. And there we go. Okay. Bit of lubrication here. Make sure everybody's lubricated as they are supposed to be. There we go. All right, now we're going to flip over and install your components on this side. Just a few pieces here. Starting with your die shock. Okay, we're going to put your cannon pinion on, and then we'll lubricate your third wheel and escape wheel. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to check the running of your train and just look to see how everybody looks before we go too far. Looks pretty good. That's nice to see. Okay, good. Let's take the next step, which is to put your pallet fork, which is lubricated. You lubricate the stones of the pallet fork, not the pivots. Use a shear thinning grease, whose viscosity depends on the rate of shear applied so that it stays still when it's stopped, but it slides when it interacts with the escape wheel. It's kind of cool. All right. Non-Newtonian fluids. There we go. You want to get to the end of your... All right. That fits pretty good. Let's see how that goes. There we go. Okay, let's check the flick. Looks pretty good. All right, now for your your balance. Let's go ahead and get that installed. And then we can check our work. Okay. Right. All right, well, there we have it. That's the layout, and we're going to give it a check. So let's go ahead and get this onto the time grapher and see how we're doing. Okay, well, that jumped up quickly. I just put this on. You're really about 40 seconds on the time grapher, and I don't know what else to say. It's phenomenal. Let's let's do some adjusting. Good Lord. Was not expecting that. That's wonderful. Okay, so let's get it adjusted. We got to get a little bit of beat error out, and let's take a guess here. Which direction to go? Nope, wrong way. Okay. Where are we at? 0.7, okay. That was probably a little too far the other way. Okay, so that looks like beat error has been dealt with. Let's let it settle down and see where we end up in terms of the rate. perfect, I guess. Well, this is wonderful. I have nothing else to say. I think we've gotten there. This looks great. Really great. I think I'm happy. All right, I'm going to let this essentially break in. I don't know if we're going to get any better than this, but perhaps. I mean, the 260 is not out of the ballpark for where we are. So as soon as the numbers just kind of settle down and sit and stay solid, we're going to put the rest of it together. Okay. Happy days. This is good. Okay, Bradford. Well, we have allowed the run-in process to proceed, and we are now assembling the calendar side. So I've gotten a few pieces on your keyless works just to check some things. And now I'm finishing up here. That is not the screw I want. Actually, it is. That's exactly the screw I want. Okay. Let's get everybody aligned here. Oops. Make sure they're seated properly. There we go. Now we're in place. Oh, now, come on. Work with me here. Okay, good. That's what we want to see. That's rocking. That's perfect. Okay. Good. Now we can proceed with the rest of the calendar works. Put your correctors, day and date fingers here. Okay, get your intermediary gear placed. Sorry for the snoring in the background. My dogs seem to think that this is the place to come and sleep and snore. So I get to listen to snoring, as do you, whoever's watching this video. You get to hear a sleepy pair of goofy dogs. All right, let's get your day disc on and your date ring. And then we'll be finished with the build out of your movement. Be ready to put things back together. The final stages. All right. When there are multiple screws on one bridge, I like to take an approach that I do with other multi-bolt screw situations where you never really tighten one before you get them all in place. You always do it incrementally, and then when you're sure that everybody's aligned and perfect, you give it the last little cinch. And there we go. This one only gets one, so once it's in place, we are ready. Okay. Okay. Now we can put your day disc in place. And there we go. Your C-clip, chamfered side down. And with that, we can test to make sure everybody's doing their thing. That looks good. Let's go all the way through here. There's your date and day. Perfect. Saturday 29 lines up. All right, we are ready for dial and hands. We'll be back. Okay, Bradford, well, we're here at the end. Got your movement back in your case. Got your case fully rebuilt. And now we are ready to assemble the final components of your winding assembly. So, one little drop of lubrication here. And we will be ready to go. Make sure that is doing its job. Perfect. Okay. There's one. Two. And number 3. And now for your winding weight. And of course, your new screw to replace your broken one. I'll notice here you also have a new screw that replaces the one that was incorrect. Okay, that seems to be doing its job. I'm gonna do a last final little cleanup of all the pieces here. Make sure we don't leave anything behind. I'm going to do your case back off screen for a reason between us that we know. So let me get that tightened down. Over here, you got a new case back seal, which is nice to see. And let's go ahead and have a look. Oh my goodness, my dogs pick the best times to make noises. And there we have it. There is your lovely, lovely 6309. It just looks fantastic. I love the patinaed lume, that sort of yellowy, buttery lume on your dial. All right, well, this is the end. This is the complete watch. I want to go ahead and just take you through the things that we did, aside from the service, of course. So quite a number of little things, nothing too major. I mean, the watch is running great. You know, clearly it had seen some water, and so that's something that we always have to contend with watches that have seals that go bad over time. This was your, I'm not sure if you remember, but this is incorrect. This is not what this should look like. This is somehow bent and just really waiting to fail. So that's going to come back. Your original crown is here. It was perfect. It was absolutely in great shape. Threads perfect. All the pieces were there. I just rebuilt it. I put a new seal in, and it came out great. This is your center wheel. This had really bad corrosion, and so it needed to be replaced. And I've replaced it with a original one from a 6309 that was in very good shape. This is the bushing, your upper bushing for your mainspring arbor. That is now a jewel, so that will of course come back. Seals, a couple screws. This is your crystal. I wasn't 100% sure if you wanted to change it, but this one has a big divot here in the center, and it just didn't really, you know, with all the greatness of this watch, I really thought it would benefit from a new crystal. If you want that crystal back in, just let me know. Of course, we can always put it back. Very flat and incorrect, actually, case back seal. This is your bezel gasket. It is a crunchy piece of plastic. And there is the the seal that came out of your old crown, and so I've replaced it now with a new one that looks less like a square cross section and more correct. So these are your two screws. This one was broken, of course, and this one was incorrect, and those will come back to you as well. So those are all your items that have been replaced or refurbished. So it's a great runner. This is a really good 6309. It's one of the more responsive ones that I've ever seen in terms of its responding to the service. It just jumped right up and is running just beautifully. I went ahead and reaffixed your lume pip glass. I didn't relume it. I thought that given the character of the watch and the look of everything, you know, it didn't seem quite right to put a glowy, bright lume pip back into a watch that, is 40 years old and probably none of the lume itself actually works more than a few seconds. And so I just reaffixed it, using some binder. I put it back into its place so it's nice and flat again, but I left it alone. Again, new seal on this bezel, new seal on your case back, rebuilt crown. Let's go through the function of the watch. Let's just make sure we see all the things. Hand alignment is amazing. These are very easy to align. They just have nice ways of putting the hands on the markers so you can get it lined up really nicely. But let's watch the day and date click over here. So there we go. Everybody's good. We can also do your quick day and date. Just run through the week here. As we go. Nice and smooth. Got nice resistance in your, and there we go. All right. Yeah, your crown seal is quite good, so that's nice to see. All right, well, Bradford, this is just one of my favorite watches, the 6309. It is a really, really splendid watch, and yours is a really great example, and I'm really excited to get it back to you so you can enjoy it. Thanks again.